listening to MMA Think Tank with
Welcome
Jay
to the
and
MMA
Mike.
Think Tank podcast. I am your host, Jay. Along with me, as always, is my co-host, Mike.
Hey, Jay. Let me first say that my voice is not the best after last night. A lot of hooting and hollering, a lot of clapping and going crazy over last night, so bear with me.
Don't worry. I totally understand. And wow, what a fight card that was. Crazy insane. Let's jump right into it, Mike. Ronda Rousey versus Holly Holm. Craziness ensued last night. Something that I don't think anybody would have ever expected. I don't care who you are. You could have said that you thought that Holly was going to take this belt from Ronda Rousey. And you know what? Deep down, I don't think you really believed it. I really don't. I don't think there's anybody out there that truly believed Holly Holm was going to take this belt from Ronda Rousey, Mike. And it happened.
Yeah, I thought that there was a chance for Holly Holm to win this fight. I mean, I'm not going to say that I didn't choose Ronda Rousey because both of us did, obviously. And I believe I picked Ronda Rousey in the second or third because I thought that I thought Holm would get to the second round. If she got to the third, that'd be something. But if she was to win the fight, she'd have to do the stick and move, angles, all that stuff that most of us fans and analysts thought she would do to win. However, none of us thought that she would knock Ronda Rousey out in the second round. And that is what a testament to her coaches, to her just her preparation and her skills, I guess, finally coming together in the UFC. Yeah.
Yeah, and you did, in fact, say that Holly Holm would make it to the second round, and that's when Rousey would finish her. That's what I was thinking it was going to happen earlier. I thought it was right away, round one. I thought she was going to finish Holly Holm just because we know the background and every other fight she's ever been in, Mike. It's just crazy that Holly Holm took this fight from her the way she did. I was shocked, and I'm still shocked today. I just can't get over the way she won. It's just crazy.
It's a testament to what Holm has done with kind of her growth. I expected to see this type of I say her growth in as far as she's come in such a quick time. I expected to see her fight like that maybe in 3 or 4 fights. I don't mean destroy Ronda Rousey or anything like that, but the way she looked, because as I spoke about on the show previously, her last fight against Marion Renault really showed me something. I mean, when you have a fighter, when your opponent has to try and pull guard because you can't touch her, that's what Renault had to do. Mm-hmm. And Holm didn't knock Renault out, and she got a lot of she got dogged a lot for that. And I was happy with the win, but I was unhappy that she didn't get the knockout. And I thought that would come at some point. It's just that, man, she found like the cheat code, and I don't mean steroids. She found the cheat code, or she found, whatever Game Genie. Yeah, you old guys, you know what Game Genie is. And she just did it quickly.
A little up, down, left, right action.
Exactly, a little bit of that. And instead of taking 5 fights, she just rolled it all into one, and that's what was amazing.
It really was truly amazing, the boxing clinic she put on Rousey. Look, Rousey's her boxing game has come up quite substantially in the past, few fights, but she had nothing for Holly Holm last night. And part of this, I think, is due to Ronda. From my perspective anyway, it looked as if Ronda wanted to go in and try to outbox her to prove a point, which was stupid to me. I thought that she wasn't really setting up anything to try to take her down. She kept rushing in, trying to fight this, established boxer. What did you think about that, Mike?
I mean, there could be some truth to that, but the thing is that really when you look at it in the first round, Holly was in the clinch with her, and Ronda couldn't take her down, except for the one time when she did, and she almost got the armbar. And believe me, if that was an armbar against regular people, then that armbar probably wouldn't have gotten, been successful anyway. But against Ronda Rousey, I think all of us probably thought, oh, here we go. It's on the ground. She's got an arm. It's probably going to be done. And Holly Holm got out of it, stood up, and something that I thought she'd have, just one of the few things she would have over Rousey was her strength. She was not her strength, but her toughness and how tall she is. She's a very wiry young lady, and she was able to get up and land some punches. And I think after that, it's possible that Rousey said, okay, I'm not sure what to do here. And really, that's a problem with her coach after the first round, because he was like, oh, you looked good. You just, all she has is this or that or whatever Tvardian said. And I think that went against her. And I really think that I'm not saying that changed. That like, if she would have changed differently or thought differently, that she would have won against Holm. I think Holm still would have won the fight. But I agree with you that maybe in the beginning she did think maybe I can stand with her, but then she was overwhelmed.
I really don't think that she was thinking properly. It doesn't look as if she tried to set anything up. After the first initial clinches, she did not try to set anything up. She just tried to go in there and throw bombs on Holly, and Holly picked her apart. Holly was able to get away. And, her being the taller fighter, I thought it was insane for her to try to fight that way. Number one, because she's taller, but number two, of course, she's an accomplished boxer. And she just picked her apart, Mike. And I was just really shocked at the game plan from Ronda Rousey. I thought it was foolish. But what I was more shocked with is the fact that Holly Holm's skills was way above anything else I've ever seen from her in mixed martial arts. And I'm going back to Invicta, and I'm looking at her fights there. I'm looking at her fights here in the UFC. She has not shown this kind of skill in mixed martial arts yet.
Well, she hasn't shown the finishing aspects of it. I mean, I saw a little bit of that in the Renault fight, and I've seen her knock people out in Legacy.
Yeah, no. That's not what I'm getting at. I understand what you're saying. I've seen her knock people out, and I've seen her do it with her kicks, and I've seen her, throw some pretty combos. But what I have not seen is this kind of fighter that Holly Holm brought, this kind of fight she brought last night against Ronda Rousey. It was crazy. It was almost like a Holly Holm on speed. Like, she was just crazy fast. She had the combos. Everything was going for her. The harder punches. She threw some hard punches. I have not seen her throw hard punches like that before. Yeah,
I think there's a few different things going on here. One is, Ronda Rousey, she's never been when I say she's not been the most textbook puncher, it's not to say that she doesn't have good boxing. It's just she's never really had to use it against somebody with the caliber of Holly Holm. Yeah. So she's usually finishing these punches with knockouts or getting to the clinch and getting an armbar. Or she knocked out Betch Correa, but Betch Correa is not. I mean, she's not anything close to Holly Holm. And then also you've got the camp with Winklejohn and Greg Jackson. And sure, they had the same camp. She had the same camp in her last two fights against in the UFC. But this is a big fight, and I'm sure they instilled it in her. And she knew going into this fight, this is something about legacy. This is something about not just being a boxer, and her legacy there, but just as a fighter. And again, I'm surprised in how the fight ended, but I'm not surprised in so much as how Holmes' boxing and striking looked against Ronda Rousey. I'm not surprised about that. I am surprised that how Holm looked in the clinch. It looked like Ronda Rousey. Well, it was evident Ronda Rousey couldn't do as much as she normally does, and whether that's because she's a judoka as opposed to a wrestler, and Holm was bigger, I don't know. It was Holm's night, and going from here, there's supposed to be and we can still obviously discuss it, but just before I forget, there's going to be an immediate rematch, I guess, for Rousey. But I certainly hope they give Tate a shot at Holm before that, because we don't know when Ronda Rousey's coming back, man. She was busted up pretty bad. So I don't want Holly Holm to sit around for 6 months.
I hear what you're saying, and that does make sense if that were to happen, if she's out more than 6 months. Yeah, let Miesha Tate have a chance. But if it's before that, I say wait for Ronda. She's been the champ for so long. She should get that immediate rematch, as well as, looking at her fight game last night, her fight plan was horrendous. And she's got to go back to the drawing board on that.
So, I mean, I don't know if I agree with you, but I will, to fully understand what you're saying. What do you think she should have ran towards her? Like Betch Correa?
No, I think she kept coming forward. Ronda kept coming forward and trying to outbox this boxer, and it was just a horrible game plan. I just did not like what I saw coming from her. But likewise,
that's what she does. She's a forward fighter, and doesn't mean you don't change your game plan. I completely agree with you there. To win a fight, you got to get the right game plan. There's no doubt about that.
But you need to set up. You need to set up the takedowns a lot better than she tried last night. Yeah, she got her in a couple of clinches at the very beginning. After that, she decided, no, I'm just going to wing punches.
But she doesn't set up takedowns. She's not a wrestler. She's a judoka. Well, she's got the clinch and goes from there.
But she's got to learn some new moves then, because that's not going to win. That's not going to win a fight against Holly Holm.
And I think that's the problem with her camp, and of course with Rousey as well. Look, if you're a champ, you've got to tell your camp, look, I really need to do wrestling. If they say, no, you don't know, don't worry about it. You're the best ever. Don't you know you're the best ever? No, I need to learn wrestling.
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying. But don't take anything away from Holly Holm. I'm not trying to take anything away from her. Don't think I'm trying to take anything away from Holly Holm. I think Holly Holm looked amazing, and that's why I'm saying I've seen a lot of her fights, Mike. The last fight she fought, against Renault, to me, even though she looked good, she did not look as fantastic as she did last night. I don't know. Part of me was wondering, man, I know this isn't the truth, but it looked as if she's been holding back all this time. And now suddenly against Ronda Rousey, she put the full force out there against her.
You're not the only person that's thought that. And I understand where you're coming from. I just think she has been here before, not in mixed martial arts, but she's been there in boxing. This is a big deal. These types of fights, these crowds, she's done it. She's been there. And I think that's what we saw. And there's something that you said that I agree with. And I've watched her since Legacy, and I've been okay with her UFC fights simply because I thought she was growing, but not, I didn't think really that she should be in this fight. Obviously, we both agreed with that earlier in podcasts. But she's there, she's undefeated, and evidently Dana White made sense. But she did throw punches way harder this time.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm saying. I have not seen her throw punches this hard in her mixed martial arts career. I've not seen it. And to me, that's why I was looking at it like, was she holding back all this time? But who would do that, right? So maybe it was just a part of, just getting her footing in the mixed martial arts game. I think know what it is.
It's the UFC. I really think it's the UFC.
And then on top of that, if you look at the flip side, do you think that Ronda Rousey just really ticked her off? I mean, it looked like she was out for blood last night, and she really looked like she was mad at Ronda Rousey that whole fight.
Oh, I didn't see that at all. I just saw that Ronda Rousey was okay.
Oh, when she would throw them punches, she was throwing with you could see that anger on her face. Like she was really trying to put her out.
See that. I just saw the fighter winning the fight. But if she wanted to be angry, that's fine, because the way I look at it, I was angry on her behalf. Because a few years ago, I was not happy with Ronda Rousey not shaking Miesha Tate's hand after the fight. That whole sportsmanship attitude, and that's neither here nor there between what I think you think or the fans out there think. But I didn't like it, and I didn't like now. Fast forward to where she rushed Holly Holm at the weigh-in. What was the point of that? I don't understand that. You guys are supposed to be like, you guys are very, very cordial to each other, and then. She yells at Holly, I see through your sweet act and all that stuff like that. And Holly did nothing. And then they go to touch gloves during the fight, and Ronda doesn't touch gloves.
Yeah.
And so
I thought it was a bit
annoyed
odd.
me as well. So maybe that's what if you saw Holm being angry, that's what did it.
Oh, no. That's what I'm saying. Did Ronda tick her off? Because she looked like a woman that was out for blood, and she got it done. She got blood, and she beat Ronda Rousey so bad. She made Ronda Rousey look as if it was some amateur fighting her last night. That's how bad that fight looked for Rousey.
Yeah, she was all bloodied up in the first round. You've never seen that before. And, I thought she might have had a broken jaw the way she had her mouth open. She was just probably tired. But there was something that I think Holm just rose to the occasion. And, Jay, what do you think? I personally think it's a TJ Dillashaw moment. I think she's TJ Dillashaw, and that Ronda Rousey's Barao. I just believe that she beats her again.
Yeah, I was going to get into that and also say that do I think that Ronda Rousey has a shot against Holly Holm? And I can't believe I'm saying it that way, because we've been saying forever, does so-and-so have a chance against Ronda Rousey? And it's always been definitively no, absolutely not. Here, you got this new champ in Holly Holm that demolished Ronda Rousey. Despite that, Mike, I will still go on record as saying, I think that Rousey can beat her, but does she beat her? Does she beat her, you know, again and again and again? No, I don't think so. I think Holly Holm just might have her number to where, you know, if they were to fight 10 times, Holly Holm might win 6, 7 times out of the 10.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know, I think she probably beats her most of the time. Holly Holm beats her most of the time, but it's one of those styles makes fights thing.
Yeah.
You know,
that's what I'm getting at.
Rousey couldn't get away from the footwork. She couldn't get in there. And, you know, she hadn't fought anybody with that type of style. And I don't know if we should get into this now. But
the way Holly Holm pushed her back with her those leg kicks and the kicks to the thighs and kept her at bay. She fought really tall. Holly Holm, that Stefan Struve, that's how you fight tall right there.
Right.
That's how you do it. How Holly Holm fought last night. That's exactly how you do it, Stefan. Anyway, continue.
And speaking of that, I mean, he's got long legs also. Could you see the kick coming? Because I knew it was coming.
Yeah.
10 seconds before it came, I was like, oh, it's coming soon. It's got to be coming soon. And Holly Holm did something. And let me, in a second, please let me get on to something else before I forget it. It's about Miesha Tate.
Go ahead.
What Holly Holm did is something that a lot of fighters don't do. And I don't know if this is because of boxing, because I'm going to be honest, I'm not a boxing guy. Outside of Mike Tyson back in the 80s and early 90s, I had no bubkiss about boxing. But as soon as Holly Holm saw Ronda Rousey spin a little bit and not have her guard up, that kick came, kapow, and that was it. So, but let me digress really quick. If it's Holly Holm versus Miesha Tate, I might not pick Holly Holm. It's styles make fights. I may still pick Holly Holm, but I don't know.
I won't totally disagree with that, Mike. And that's because, of course, Miesha Tate is an accomplished wrestler.
Yep.
And Miesha Tate has went all 5 rounds with Ronda Rousey. Well, almost.
Well, she went 3 rounds.
3 rounds, excuse me. She went 3 out of the 5 rounds. I don't know why I said 5, but she's been there the longest against Ronda Rousey. And, you know, I really think that her being the accomplished wrestler that she is, I think that she does have a chance against Holly Holm. She might beat Holly Holm. And if that were to happen, you know, what then? It'd be craziness. Like
what happens, I think, is you finally have a division that makes sense, and because Ronda Rousey has held sway over this division, as great as she is, and I still say is, she's still great. Just because she lost to Holly Holm doesn't mean she's a bum now.
Yeah.
You know, some of these people out there, oh, she was exposed, she's really not that good. Okay, so she can't beat a gorilla or Godzilla. Okay, but she's still pretty darn good. This Ronda Rousey chick. Okay. But that's what happens in the men's divisions. You got styles that make fights, you know, and that's all it means.
I think that the division's already gotten better last night. As far as Holly Holm winning, that just proves that there is somebody in the division that can take that title from her. And now it kind of opens things up. Even with just that one coming through the door and taking that belt, it opens it up.
Yeah. And what I'm trying to say is it's not like when Matt Hughes held the division for so long and then GSP did it. It could end up being like the way the 205 division was for so long before John Jones.
Yeah.
Guys would win the title, defend it maybe once.
Exactly.
And then another guy would win.
I wasn't going to put it that way, but what I'm saying is you're exactly right, Mike. Now the division is finally started. It has started last night.
Yep.
The women's 135 division is here, folks. That was it last night. That's the start of it. And now we can continue and see what transpires after this. Is Holly going to reign supreme? Yeah. Or is Ronda going to come back and take her belt and reign supreme? We shall see.
And as an MMA fan, brother, let me tell you, I'm a Holly Holm fan. But when it comes to just the sport as a whole, this is something that is so intriguing, like you said, man. Like, how does this killer in the cage just come back from? Let's be honest, man. That's the worst beating I've seen. She fell, she's fallen, and big ups to her though for continuing to fight. That's what a champ does. She didn't like just tap the ground or give up. She kind of continued to come forward and threw punches, even though she got knocked out. And the next fight's going to be better.
Yeah. Well, that's where I thought.
Or maybe longer.
That's where I thought she shouldn't have came forward so much after getting up. That's where I thought she should have held back a little bit and tried to strategize a bit more. Those punches she was coming in with were just awful. So, and everybody knows, I am a big fan of Ronda Rousey. Still am. I think she's still one of the best, ever in mixed martial arts.
Oh yeah, she beats everybody but Holly Holm in my opinion.
Yeah, but the thing is, I just, I have to give props where they're due. Holly Holm looked amazing, and if she continues to fight that way, as I said before, if they were to fight 10 times, 6 or 7 out of those 10 times, Holly Holm would be the victor. But there's other people in the division that could possibly beat Holly Holm every time. And we just have to see that. Miesha Tate is one of those people that could possibly be her kryptonite. We'll see.
I think she might be the only person though, because as good as Amanda Nunes is, I don't think she has that wrestling to really get in there. I think she just gets picked apart.
Yeah,
but,
I agree.
I look also at now that Holly Holm.
What about?
It's not just who owns the belt. It's who's going to represent the belt. And you had someone in Ronda Rousey who was young, brash, exciting. Everywhere, and you've got Holly Holm, who's the complete opposite. Not that I don't want to say that. I'm not trying to say that Ronda Rousey was always disrespectful. Most of the time, she's very disrespectful. She has her own personality. But Holly Holm was after the fight, check it on Ronda Rousey. Even though Ronda Rousey had yelled at her and all that stuff, she's just very cordial to Rousey. On the mic, I had people texting me saying that's what a champ does. That's a role model. Things like that.
Yeah,
it's gonna be. How can the UFC? I don't want to say how can the UFC use her.
Yeah,
but what's it going to be like?
Unfortunately for the UFC, I believe this 100%, Mike. I think that their cash cow is not going to be transferred over to Holly Holm. I don't think Holly Holm is going to be that cash cow. I don't think she's as marketable as Ronda Rousey. And even though you put a good role model in there, she is not as polarizing as a figure as Ronda Rousey was. She is not. She doesn't encapsulate that mystique and that whole vibe that Ronda Rousey gave off as a champion. Now, whether some people looked at it as being negative and others positive, she was that cash cow that the UFC has now kind of lost. Not completely. She's still there and she could still bring it back, but. I just think that was a black eye to the UFC last night in terms of money.
I looked at the fight at the very end, and I said basically that to me the good guy won, but the thing is the good guy doesn't get a lot of play. The good guy, the nice guy doesn't get a lot of respect or a lot of eyeballs, and so we'll see what happens from there, man.
I hear you. I don't look at Ronda Rousey as a bad guy.
I know. It's just I do. But
I know you do, but I don't look at Holly Holm as bad at all either. I think she's a good person. She's a great champion to have, but I like a little edge to my champions.
Yeah.
Not as much as John Jones likes to push it. Not that far edgy, but
okay, yeah, that's the difference. And let me I think you understand where I'm coming from, Jay, because you and I are friends, obviously, and we know each other very well for the last 20 years or whatever. But I certainly don't mean that she's a bad person outside the ring. I just don't like her sportsmanship.
Yeah, no, I totally, I get it, I get it. Yeah, but we shall see what's about to come. Well, not what's about to come, because she's probably going to be out a while. She did get busted up. Round 2.
Sorry, finish your thought. I just have one more thing to say.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Finish your thought.
The one thing I wanted to say, too, is that I wrote it on Facebook, and it was something to the effect of, we went into this fight thinking, how can, Ronda Rousey, or how can Holly Holm avoid the grappling to win this fight when it looks like it was the other way around? How can Ronda Rousey win this fight if she can't get the grappling going her way? Yeah. And I thought that was something that really what this fight was about. And going forward, that's something I think we all need to look at when we look at fights. Instead of like this guy or this lady is the best or the contender, this is why, and that's what they're going to do. Look at the opponent, man. Because especially if they're heavy in one area, like Ronda Rousey's heavy in one area. She's certainly not a one-trick pony anymore, but she was heavier in one area. Whereas, when you're completely mixed martial artists, like someone like George St. Pierre, I'll even say someone like Chris Weidman or something like that, you have more things to work off of.
Yeah. Well, Holly Holm wins in the second round by KO, folks. Craziness. Well, it won't be the last time. Maybe on this podcast we might not mention the Ronda fight, but this is not the last time we're going to be talking about her, of course, because she will be back. Mike, we also had Jacek versus Letourneau last night in the co-main event, and that was a pretty spectacular fight as well.
Yeah, I agree. You know, it was something similar to the Rousey fight, Rousey and Holm, in so much as the contender that nobody thought was going to win showed up. Mm-hmm. I mean, I realized that that Letourneau didn't win the fight, but she brought it. It was entertaining, Jay. What did you think? Yeah,
she did bring it. I was surprised as well in that fight. I thought she fought valiantly, as I said before the podcast to you. But Jacek is just Jacek. She's just amazing. She's just awesome to watch. And she just put those combinations together and ended up winning the fight. And I was just shocked at this card. I was really shocked at this card last night.
Yeah, I was worried after the first bout that, we'll get to a little bit later. But, it harkens back to something I've said in the past, is that, even if there's somebody that we don't think is going to defeat the champ, whether it's Dan Hardy in GSP or Talis Leites, fighting, Anderson Silva, they've got to fight somebody. And this is the type of fight that even though she didn't win, Letourneau, she looked good. Whereas Holm, we didn't think she was going to win, and she did win. And I'm going to be honest with you, I thought Letourneau might have won the first 2 rounds. Did you give her a round at all?
I gave her 1 round. I gave her, I think it was the first round I gave her. I didn't give her anything after that. It was
I gave her the first round for sure. The second round, I wasn't sure.
Yeah, first round I think went to her. One of the judges got it right. 2 of them did, 49-46. I think that was the right score.
And when that happened after the first round, I said, okay, so we might have a fight here. Interesting. And after the second round, I thought, okay, if she's down, if Jacek is down 2-0, she's gonna win the next 3. So that's kind of why I went with the 2-0. And like a champ, man, she slowly but surely found the range, slowly but surely continued to bust Letourneau up. And Letourneau was game the whole time, though. But, man, at the end of the fight, the faces really showed it all. I mean, Letourneau's face was really messed up, and there's really just a cut above Jacek's eye.
Yeah,
it's something too that I think also added to Jacek's her skills of she did this in the Claudia Gadelha fight, which I think is going to be the rematch next.
Yeah,
which is she's able to get up fairly quickly. She's not like Chuck Liddell where she gets up within a second or two, but she's able to work with bigger people. Like Letourneau's bigger than her, and she was able to take about 45 seconds to a minute to defend everything and then get back on her feet. And as a striker, we all know that's instrumental. You have to be able to get up and get up fast, because if you don't, you're gonna lose your fight due to a decision because somebody's laying on top of you, whether they're landing strikes or not. And I thought she did really well on that. And that's something she's going to need again against Gadelha.
Yeah. And that's why I gave Letourneau that first round, is because she was on top of her. And, she did throw some strikes and stuff. And for a split second there, I was watching it and I was thinking, wait a minute, that's Jacek on top, right? Because I was just thinking, it was going to be a domination fight. But it wasn't. It was a great fight.
Yeah. And, bring on Claudia Gadelha, because that first fight was great. I think Gadelha kind of won that first fight, but it was certainly close enough, and we'll certainly see the next one, because that's really what we're going to see with Jacek. If she beats Gadelha, I don't know when she's going to lose next.
Well, but you've got fighters that bring it and that have a shot. You've got people like Letourneau. You have people like Gadelha. You have these fighters that are
Van
in
Zandt's
there.
coming up.
Van Zandt's coming up. Yeah, she's coming up soon too. Isn't she fighting in next couple of weeks?
She's fighting in December, and so is Michelle Watterson fighting Tisha Torres.
That's right.
So some great people in this division.
Yep. The women's divisions, I'm telling you, are just looking good, man. Looking real good. Mike, we also had Hunt versus Bigfoot Silva Dos. How did you like that fight last night?
Yeah, the rules sort of held true, which is since I've been watching this sport, if you have a great first fight, a long 5-round war, 3-round war, it could go either way. The second fight is always quicker and always definitive. And Mark Hunt did it. I got off a little saucy on the last podcast and said I think he's going to knock him out in the first round, because I don't normally do that, but I just was feeling it. I thought to myself, okay, Mark Hunt's looking good. Yeah. He's faster. I mean, looking good as in, thinner, looking good. And let's face it, man, Bigfoot is a big hulking guy, and the last fight he was popped for a PED, and I thought for sure that Hunt was going to get that knockout in the first. I almost thought it wasn't going to happen because they were, plodding around, getting their range, and then boom, out of nowhere, that punch laid Silva out against the cage.
Yeah, and you know what? I think I agreed with you. Maybe not the first round, I'm not sure, but you were 100% right. It was a first round KO by Hunt, and it was great. Their first fight was spectacular, though. I wish it would have went a little longer, went a little more back and forth personally, because I loved their first fight. I was expecting more of that. So yeah, but kudos to you for figuring that out.
Yeah, I mean, I know you did. I certainly know you did. You did pick Hunt, for sure, and I was excited because I'm a Hunt fan. I'm
I am
not a
too.
Hunt fan since Pride. I didn't really follow Pride at that point. I've watched all the videos, so I've seen Hunt in Pride on video, but really I've just getting to know him since he's been in the UFC.
Yeah.
Watching his fight, his interviews. He's just a good dude. The guy's 10-10-1. He was on the hot seat because listen, when you're in the UFC. If you have a losing record, look, you get a losing record, you're out. You're gone. You got to go to the regional circuit, get a couple of wins, come back. And, now he's 11-10-1. He's 41 years old. He wants to fight in the South Korean card in 2 weeks. And I say let him do it because Krokop retired and Anthony Hamilton needs an opponent. So let Hunt go over there.
Yeah, I totally agree. He's 41. The clock is ticking. So you might as well let him go over there and fight in 2 weeks, Dana. You know what? I'm a big fan of Mark Hunt. I think he's a great guy. He's fun to listen to after the fights, and I think the guy is just he's a beast in there. He can still throw those bombs. At 41 years old. And let's face it, the division is not really stacked. So I mean, who else do you got in that division that can really mix it up? Just to throw a card together anyway, and you want to put a couple of heavyweights in there. Who are you going to put in there? It seems like they're either hurt. The big guys the big names are either hurt or
fighting each other.
Or fighting each other. Exactly. So,
well, Hunt was saying at the post-fight press conference, somebody asked him, "Who do you want to fight?" And he said, I want to get my losses back. Basically, what he said, I want to fight Stipe Miocic or I want to fight JDS. And I'm completely behind that. I'd like to see that.
Yeah, tall order for both, actually. But I'd like to see it, too.
The new Mark Hunt. We'll see what happens,
Definitely. Mike, we also had a fight in Uriah Hall and Whitaker. I did not pick this fight very well.
Neither did I.
Yeah, we both picked Hall to win. I thought that this fight would have been totally different. I thought Uriah Hall was going to just go in there and smash Whitaker and just destroy him. And no offense to Whitaker. It's just that Uriah Hall has been getting better and better with every fight. And now it seems he's regressed. It looks like we're watching the Uriah Hall from a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's something that, I'm not sure, is it, how do I say it? I guess I'll be blunt. It was the kick over Mousasi was not lucky. He planned to do it. It landed. That was great. But he was losing that first round. Yeah. If he doesn't land that kick, what happens in that fight? I don't know. And he beat a guy before that. I'm not even going to try and say his name because it's very tough to say. I'd have to read it to really make it sound good. But he beat that guy in the first round, but he was fairly a nobody who just kind of filled in. And I think this was a fight that I think we really could have seen Hall do something and further that, get the 3 wins in a row. But was it Whitaker, Jay? Whitaker's a tough guy. I've seen him fight on the Tough Smashes show, and I realize that's Tough Smashes. It's not, it's Australia versus New Zealand. But he's been a tough guy on the streak.
Yeah, I mean, Whitaker is a good fighter, don't get me wrong. But the way that Uriah Hall's been fighting, the way he beat Mousasi, that's definitely not a fighter. I would pick Uriah Hall again today if that's the fighter I was going to get against Whitaker. Now, Uriah Hall last night, it almost looked as if the mental game started playing a role in it again, as if he's just totally regressed and started overthinking things in the octagon.
And was that because it was a short notice fight? Because You know, Musasi he's methodical. He takes his time to set things up. I mean, Whitaker was just boom, boom. He was coming at you, throwing strikes, and he wasn't slowing down. And that's something that Hall's kind of had a problem with in the past. And maybe that had something to do with it.
I think you're
if
right.
Hall has another camp, a full camp, maybe it's different, and I agree with you.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Whitaker coming forward that way. Uriah's had a problem with that before. Maybe he's still got a problem with that. And, maybe, yeah, you're right. If he had a full camp, maybe he can come back with a better game plan against Whitaker or somebody like him that likes to come forward.
And you talk about the mental game. Remember, there was like 2 or 3 times he kind of just feinted the spinning kicks. Remember?
Yeah, and then he didn't do it. He didn't go forward with it. And it just really flustered me last night watching him fight. It almost, like I said, it looked as if he was overthinking things in the octagon. So Uriah Hall losing the way he did, I wouldn't have picked that at all. There's no way. But
where do you see Whitaker going from here? He just beats Uriah Hall. Uriah Hall is number 10 in the UFC according to their rankings. I think that Whitaker maybe gets another fight.
I say Whitaker
before
moves
the top 5, but that top 5 is a murderer's row, man.
Yeah, I don't put Robert Whitaker in the top 10 yet. Maybe 11 with that win. But I say you give him a top 6, 7 opponent next. See how he does.
Yeah.
And then you go from there.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, Mike. Also, another fight that we called, but we called right this time, folks, was Stefan Struve against Rosholt. We had picked Rosholt to win this fight. And part of the reason was because of his wrestling background.
Yeah.
And another reason, I'm sure it's on our podcasts, on several anyway, Stefan Struve is a guy that just does not like to fight tall. And he's the tallest guy in the UFC. I don't know what it is about him, but he just refuses to fight tall and keep people at bay. What did you see in that fight last night, Mike?
It was all that, and we have to add, and it's also on the previous podcast, is he's not as active. He needs to get active. And it's not that he's a counter fighter, it's just that he takes too long. And and Jared Rosholt, he weathered the storm and got the takedowns, and that was what gave him the wins. But he didn't really do much with the takedowns. He landed a couple shots here and there, but it was a very boring fight to kick off the night. And does Rosholt, where's he go from here? They give him a top 10 guy. I guess he's a young guy who can wrestle, but if you can't beat Stefan Struve, you can't look good against Stefan Struve. You're certainly not there quite yet.
Yeah. Well, the judges were unanimous. Jared Rosholt won 28-29. Stefan Struve just, what do you do with him from here? What's next for Stefan Struve?
I'm going to say something that you've said in the past. I don't care. And I really feel that way, just like you felt like that when you said it.
Yeah.
And if that wasn't something you said in the podcast, and it was in one of our conversations, I'm sorry, but I just don't.
I really don't either. I'm just asking.
Tito Ortiz. That's who it was.
It might have been Tito, because I really don't care. But Stefan Struve, it's not that I don't care about these people personally. It's just that I don't care about their career at this point because they refuse to fight smart.
Yes.
That's the point. They just refuse to fight smart. Stefan Struve is a guy that, he went through all this Muay Thai camp and everything, and he was going to do all these big things, and he's going to start fighting tall, and he came back, and he just fell flat.
He's had his last 2 camps with Henry Hooft, like the Dutch kickboxing great.
There you go.
He's Dutch himself. And I hate to sound like Jerry Seinfeld there, but my voice is still messed up from last night.
Yeah.
But it doesn't make any sense.
It's crazy, but I don't care either. So Stefan Struve, try to get your stuff together, come back and fight tall already. And Jared Rosholt, what's next for him?
Like I said, you maybe give him a top 10 guy, see what happens. I believe he's won his last few. If he hasn't won his last few, he's won most of his probably last 5. So let's see what happens with that. But really, man, the heavyweight division is just,
it's not good.
Man, why is it so bad?
Yeah, and he did win his last 3 fights, by the way. Josh Copeland, Timothy Johnson, and now Stefan Struve.
And if you put them in a lineup, I couldn't name either of them.
Yeah.
Or all 3 of them without, clues.
There's no way.
So,
the last 8 opponents, I don't even know who they are.
Right.
Okay. So that's how crazy that is. But it's the heavyweight division in the UFC. It's just not good. It's not good, people.
Yep.
Yeah. Mike, anyway, let's go ahead and get into some picks for next week. I know we got a couple of cards coming up. Why don't you go ahead and talk about that?
Yeah, we might not make a bunch of picks on these first two cards, but this weekend we have the three major promotions. They've all got cards. You've got Bellator 146 on Friday on Spike, and the headliner is Hisaki Kato versus Melvin Manhoff. Most of us probably know who Manhoff is, Dutch guy, but he's African descent though, and big kickboxer. I'd say he's best known for fighting overseas and also getting knocked out by Robbie Lawler in Strikeforce. It might have been Elite XC, but he's a game guy. He's a good guy, a solid guy, but he's never going to be anything more than he's been. Kato is a guy that he was one of his last couple of fights in Bellator. Very tall, Japanese guy. I believe he might be half European though. I think that's why he's so big. Just the looks of him. Also, when I read about him and stuff like that. So if that helps you with how he looks, because really both these guys aren't well known. That's your main event. Not a great card because Bellator has had so many great cards lately. You're going to have a dud once in a while. So that's why. And the rest of the card is Bubba Jenkins, great wrestler, taking on Jordan Parsons, Chidi Nchikawani, pretty good striker.
What'd you call me?
Yeah, exactly. You know what I called you. Chidi Nchikawani, which is Anthony Nchikwani's brother, a little brother. He's fighting Ricky Rainey. Derek Campos versus Brandon Gertz. Brandon Gertz, if you guys remember, is the guy that beat Melvin Gillard in Melvin Gillard's Bellator debut. And a guy you guys may know from the UFC, Houston Alexander. He fought Kimbo Slice in Kimbo's only UFC fight outside of Tough. He's fighting Guillermo Viana. And that's your Spike card. Hopefully it's good. Just because we don't really know him doesn't mean it won't be a good night of fights.
Yeah, definitely.
Also on Friday. Oh, Jay, did you want to make a comment?
Yeah. Sometimes those fights where you don't know who's fighting, sometimes they could be the bright spots of the cards. Some of the fighters that fight that you may not know. Sometimes they become the stars of that particular card. So
yeah,
definitely watch it.
At some point, Justin Gaethje was not a star. At some point, Benson Henderson was not a star.
Will Brooks.
Exactly. Will Brooks was not a star and quickly became a star.
Which, by the way, I just want to quickly say,
yeah,
his dismantling of Marcin Held was just fantastic a couple of weeks ago. If you guys haven't seen that fight, watch it. Will Brooks versus Marcin Held. It was amazing. What did you think about that fight real quick?
Yeah, Marcin Held did all he could do with his submissions, got him in some good locks, some good attempts, but Will Brooks is an animal. I mean, he got out of him, and looked great in that fight.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention Will Brooks because I'm just high on Will Brooks right now. I can't even talk. We both got an issue with speaking today. Anyway, so go ahead and go on with the next card you were going to talk about. Yeah,
so also on Friday, this time on NBC Sports Channel's World Series of Fighting 25. So hopefully you have a DVR that can record more than twice. I know there's a lot of DVRs out there that have 6 or more, but I'm still that old guy that only has 2 recordings on my Dish Network.
I have 0.
Well, you've got... so it's a lightweight tournament for WSOF 25, the one-night 8-man tournament, which is crazy. I still don't know how they're going to do this. Well, I know the rules, and I'll give you just a quick rundown of the rules.
Go ahead.
Much like Bellator, it's going to be 2 rounds for each fight, and then the next one's going to be 2 rounds. And then there's actually going to be 2 more rounds somehow, or 3 rounds. So I don't know how they're getting it done in Arizona, but they're getting it done. And whoever wins this tournament is going to fight champ Justin Gaethje, and your fighters are Luis Palomino, who just fought Justin Gaethje twice before. Yep. He's fighting Richard Padishok, which also Justin Gaethje has fought before. Brian Foster versus Yohan Zaffarino. Brian Cobb versus Mike Ricci. Islam Magomedov versus George Patino. LaRue Burley versus Joe Condon. And Benny Madrid versus Ramil Mustapayev. And those last 2 are reserve bouts. So if someone gets hurt in those other fights, they will step up if the loser of those fights cannot go forward as well.
Now, you mentioned Mike Ricci. Is that the same Mike Ricci from UFC?
Yes, it is. Same Mike Ricci from the UFC. He's got 1 or 2 wins now in I believe, in the World Series of Fighting. So he's cut his teeth in the World Series of Fighting. But yeah, he didn't do too well in the UFC after the show, after the tough show.
And the main event again was who?
Oh, the main event, I didn't get there yet. Thank you. The main event is Jason High versus Estevan Payan. This is going to be Jason High's first fight in the WSOF. I think that's why he's not in the tournament. Jason High, in my opinion, is one of the best people that hadn't been signed for a while. He's not definitely a world beater. He's not, although technically he's fought all around the world. But he's a guy that I'm sure is going to grow in this promotion and give Justin Gaethje a run for his money. Yeah,
we've definitely mentioned it before. We definitely like the moves that the WSOF is making, the fighters they're acquiring, just everything they've been doing lately with their cards. Now their 8-man tournament. It's just pretty phenomenal, and they know where they stand within all the organizations and everything. So I think it's just fantastic what they're doing. So I can't wait for this 8-man tournament, so I will definitely be looking forward to that as well as the Bellator card. But, yeah, so do you want to throw any picks out there, Mike?
Yeah, if I was to look at the list for WSOF 25, I really think Luis Palomino, I'm not saying he's going to win it, but I think he's one of those guys that
I think he's one of the ones.
He's your heavy pick.
Yeah.
I think also, we'll see how Mike Ricci does, but I don't think he's going to get past Brian Cobb. Brian Cobb's a really good wrestler. I'm pretty sure he fought in the UFC for a couple times, but he's one of those guys that is a strong wrestler, and he lets you know it. He switches you around, and he's not going to knock Ricci out. But other than that, though, there's some names I've seen here before fight, like Richard Patashok. But that's and to be honest with you, George Patino, or he might pronounce it Jorge. It just depends on how he pronounces it. I know George Masvidal does it both ways for him, but he's an older guy. He's a guy you may have seen on Axis Fights. He's maybe 42, 43. Looks a lot like Vitor Belfort. He's one of those guys that has been around for a while. When they say a KG veteran, that's who he is. He could be your dark horse in this. Yeah. To be honest with you.
Well, that sounds great. We'll definitely be looking forward to that and seeing if any of those picks or any of those guys are going to step up and win it. So anyway, Mike, if you want, let's get into a little news.
News Corner.
Any news out there?
Yeah, with news right now, basically Benson Henderson is still fighting at a UFC Fight Night 79, excuse me. But he's no longer fighting Tiago Alves. Tiago Alves was hurt. I think he got a rib injury, so he pulled out. So they moved George Masvidal up to fight Henderson. So originally it was Masvidal taking on Dong Young Kim, but they pulled him. I think this fight is better Henderson. I'm a Henderson fan,
Yeah, me too.
But the fight, I think, is going to be a better fight overall. They moved. They have a fighter named Dominic Waters, who I do not know. He's going to be fighting now Dong Young Kim in South Korea. What do you think about the new fight, Jay?
For
Henderson, that is, and Masvidal.
Oh, well, Masvidal, I've always been high on Masvidal. I've always thought he's a pretty good fighter. I don't think he's one of the elite fighters, but I think he could be there someday. He's still working his way up, but George Masvidal is a good fighter, solid fighter. I think this is going to be a tough fight for
for Henderson?
No. It's going to be a tough fight for Masvidal, though, because you got Benson Henderson, who's just a world beater. The guy is just an amazing fighter, and he doesn't get beat by too many people. So
no, he doesn't. And to give my view of Masvidal, I really think he's probably one of the best guys in the UFC that's not in the top 10. He's always knocking on the door,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's almost there. He's almost there.
Yeah.
And ever since I seen him back in Strikeforce, I was high on him then. So, Jorge Masvidal, he's going to be fighting Benson Henderson, and that's going to be an exciting fight. That's going to be in 2 weeks. Let me just round out the news here. We can just jump on to actually next Saturday's Fight Night 78 card. But we talked about earlier, Crow Cop, he retired. So basically that co-main event is out unless maybe they bring in Hunt to fight Anthony Hamilton. Last two things before we move on to the to UFC Fight Night 78. Michael McDonald is back. If you're fans of Michael McDonald, I certainly am. He's going to fight Masanori Kanehara at UFC 195 on January 2nd, and I'm excited about that. Who's he fighting? I don't know who that is.
Masanori Kanehara, name value alone, I don't know. Yeah. When I saw his face online, I said, "Oh yeah, this guy's a pretty good guy." I think Michael McDonald's going to beat him, but it's you know, it's a good guy. He's fighting.
Yeah. So anyway, Fight Night 78, you wanted to talk about?
78, yeah, in Mexico.
Okay.
We pick 'em.
Yeah, so yeah, we got 3 fights I think we should probably go ahead and cover. There's 4 fights on the main card on Fox Sports 1 this Saturday. But, you know, I just kind of figured, you know, just the big names like we normally do.
Yeah.
The one of them, like you said, is unbeaten Henry Cejudo fighting Jussier for Mega. You know, they're both flyweights. Cejudo unbeaten still, 3-0 in the UFC as well.
Yeah, I can't wait for that fight.
Formiga is great. He's a great jiu-jitsu guy. It's a #1 contendership.
Mm-hmm. I can't wait for that fight. Let's go with the Magny fight. Let's go with that first.
Okay, yeah. You know, Neil Magny stepping in again on short notice to fight Kevin Gastelum. So bummed that Matt Brown had to pull out of this fight. I know you are too, Jay.
Me too.
So if I'm going to pick somebody right now, I'm going to go with Kelvin Gastelum.
Me too.
Not by much, but I'm picking him.
I'm going with Kelvin by a lot. I'm honestly looking for Kelvin to possibly finish this one.
You're looking at
I don't know if
Maya Neil Magny. Is that how bad?
Not maybe not that bad. Not that bad. But he's going to finish this one. Maybe second or third, but he's going to finish it.
Yeah, they're both fairly solid fighters in my opinion. Kelvin just seems to have you know, he just seems to have.
He's a stronger wrestler.
Going his way. I mean,
yeah, he's a stronger wrestler.
Yeah.
He's got some hard punches. I think he can stand with Neil Magny as well as take him to the ground and just demolish him down there. So I'm thinking he's going to take it to the ground and either sub him or TKO him.
Yeah, since I'm not sure, I'm just going to go with the decision with Gastelum.
And that would be smart.
A fight. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
That would be smart.
Right. Another fight I'm looking forward to is Ricardo Lamas versus Diego Sanchez. Not because I'm a fan of Ricardo Lamas, because really I don't know how he's still in the top 10 or the top 5. Really, like I don't understand this.
I don't
realize
either.
I'm getting older and my mind may be waning. But I'm in this fight for Diego Sanchez. I'm an old school Diego Sanchez fan. And my quick take on this fight is that if Diego Sanchez can beat Ricardo Lamas, he's going to fight for the title next or in 2 fights. And he'll be competitive in not just the welterweight division, not just the lightweight division, but the featherweight division. And that's all he's doing. Right?
Why was Ricardo
Lamas?
Yeah, I agree. Why was Ricardo Lamas ever put into the top 10, folks?
Yeah, basically,
look at his record. Go.
Right.
Anybody out there, go wiki his record and look at the fighters that he's won against.
Exactly.
And then look at the fighters he's lost against.
Yep.
It's a head scratcher for sure. Why he's in the top 10 makes no sense. Maybe he has family in the UFC.
You know, I don't know. I look at it as, you know, you should be able to beat, you know, a lot more people than you should be able to beat more of the better people, I should say, than lose to them to be in the top 5. But I mean, he's got more wins than losses, and you know, he's beaten guys. You know, his one big win, in my opinion, is Cub Swanson, but that was a long time ago. And then some people may bring up Dennis Bermudez, but you know, he lost his last fight also. So I don't know.
You know, having a better winning percentage is not saying much, because a lot of people can come from legacy fight, you know, and have a lot of wins, and they're not in the top 10, and they're not even knocking on the door.
In the UFC though, and believe me, I'm on board with you. I don't get it either.
No, he's not though. He's won most of these fights in regional promotions and WECs. So
well, I mean, he's in the UFC though. He's
in the UFC. He's got maybe 8 or 9 fights.
Yeah, he's 6-2 in the UFC. That's pretty good. Yeah, I don't want to hit on him too bad.
No. I'm not saying he's terrible, but then look at the people he's beat in the UFC. You know, it's a head scratcher, Mike. It's a head scratcher. I don't get it.
I'd say what I would say is it's look at how he's lost when he's lost.
Yeah,
he's been finished in every fight against good guys, except for Jose Aldo, and that's not a feather in his cap, because Jose Aldo has been going the distance with everybody in the last like 3 years. And
I don't want to be too hard and say that, you know, he's terrible or anything. He's not. He's obviously a good fighter.
He's just overrated.
He's just overrated, and it's just something that me and Mike, as friends, we sit around and talk about this sometimes and go, why is Lamas still there in the top 10? But hey, if it's just a winning percentage, then it is what it is. But
what do you think about Diego? Do you think he beats Lamas? Do you think
as much as I've poo-pooed the reason why Lamas, or why he might be in the top 10, I still have to say I think Lamas beats Sanchez. And that's because I think Sanchez just hasn't looked that great.
Yeah, for sure.
And, nothing against Sanchez. I think he's a good guy and all.
Yeah, the end of his career too. I'm picking with my heart and I'm picking with my heart with Diego, but also the fact that, Ricardo Lamas hasn't beaten very many good guys. So if I had a gun to my head, maybe I'd pick Ricardo Lamas. But if I was playing Russian roulette, I'd still pick Diego Sanchez.
Yeah, I'm going Lamas by decision.
Yeah.
Playing it smart there.
How am I picking this fight? You're right. I need to make a pick on this. I'm picking Diego Sanchez by no, I was a little saucy the last time with Mark Hunt, and I don't want to get too cocky, so I won't say that Diego Sanchez will win by ground and pound in the third round. However, I'll say Diego Sanchez wins 29-28.
Okay.
Because, here's where I get saucy, my friend. Because he's going to do in the third round kind of what he did to Gilbert Melendez, where he almost finished Gilbert Melendez. I think that's what's going to give him the third round, and that's how he'll win.
Okay. Well, we both see it exact opposite, 28-29. Me for Lamas, you for Sanchez.
Yeah, I guess so.
So what else you got? Who else we got there?
We just need to pick on Cejudo and Formiga.
Definitely. The fight that I was looking forward
to. Olympic gold medal wrestler against Formiga, who's a submission ace and very well-rounded.
I really like Cejudo. Yeah. I really like Cejudo. And Formiga's a great fighter too, and I like him. But Cejudo, that's my guy. I'm picking Cejudo.
Yeah, I'm picking Cejudo too. I'm a big fan of his. He's one of those positive guys too that on the mic, he's always talking positive to the fans. The kind of you can do it and believe in yourself. And he uses himself as an example of how if you think you're down and out in life, or you think you can't go on. Not trying to sound like some '80s ballad or anything, but he's a very likable guy.
Yeah,
he's a great wrestler, and he's going to win this fight, and he's going to fight a fight that he's probably going to lose against Mighty Mouse, Jay. That's going to be an interesting fight.
Probably. It's interesting, too, that they're fighting in Mexico City, because Cejudo refuses to fight in Vegas now since, what's his name got popped for weed and was suspended. Yeah. So, but yeah, he's fighting in Mexico City. I guess he must be a Mexican fighter.
Yeah, he's Mexican for sure.
Okay,
yeah.
So yeah. Anyway, that has nothing to do with who I think is going to win the fight or why, but
no, it's why he's fighting in Mexico.
Yeah.
He's fighting there, not in Nevada, is what you're saying. I understand.
Yeah, but as far as Cejudo goes, I think he wins by decision.
Yeah, I'm going to go with that too. I think he's going to win. I think he'll win all 3 rounds, actually.
Yeah.
I don't think that Cejudo, I don't think Formiga is going to get a chance to grab any kind of an arm or, take the back. And if he does take the back, I just think that Cejudo is going to be able to reverse it or get up. And so I think it's going to be 30-27 Cejudo.
Okay. I'll go with that too, 30-27. Not just because I'm copying you, because I'm just high on Cejudo. So, yeah, 30-27 for Cejudo.
I'm pretty sure if you get high on Cejudo, that's outlawed by the Penn State Athletic Commission.
Yeah, it's definitely a PED. If weed's a PED, that might as well be one too. Yeah, so don't get high on Cejudo, people. Anyway, Mike, let's go ahead, and if you ain't got nothing else, we can wrap up the show.
I'll just quickly say Ken Shamrock versus Royce Gracie 3, and Kimbo Slice versus Dada 5000 at one of the next Bellator shows. If you thought that I just kind of like slurred my speech or went a little crazy there.
5,000?
Yes, Kimbo Slice and a guy named Dada 5000. That's Bellator for you.
Oh man, why did you do that to me, Mike?
I will watch the Ken Shamrock Royce Gracie 3, even though combined their ages are over 100 years old, simply because these guys are old school guys that, they fought twice before. I'm not proud of myself for watching this. I'm not, but I'm going to. The Kimbo Slice, Dada 5000, there's actually some background there. Dada 5000, I think his real name is Defer. He was you guys can't see it, but Jay's he's just busting up, and I'm trying just to get it out. Dada 5000 was a bodyguard to Kimbo Slice, and they had some beef, guys. So these guys are gonna like beat each other up in the cage. I believe that's 149, Bellator 149, and that's all I've got.
Wait a minute.
We'll certainly have more stuff coming up soon after the next couple of days.
Mr. Dada 5000 is a bodyguard.
He was a bodyguard to Kimbo Slice when Kimbo Slice was coming up in the MMA.
So they're gonna put him in a cage and fight mixed martial arts. Yeah,
he's 2-0, and he actually is a backyard brawler, just like Kimbo was. That's kind of how they knew each other.
Okay, now I know where it's coming from. All right, so this is definitely a world star moment, I guess, in Bellator history, because it's weird. But yeah, okay, it's Kimbo, it's somebody popular, and this is beef with Dada 5000.
Yeah, that's all we've got, man. I know in the next few days more things will come out. I'll be writing about it on the Facebook page, and
yes.
That's
MMA Think Tank podcast on the Facebook page, guys, and you can email us at mmathinktank@gmail.com, as well as Google us, MMA Think Tank podcast. Our podcasts come up, everything comes up. Our YouTube page. Go ahead and drop us a line, though. We'd love to hear from you guys. Let us know how we're doing, and if you've got any comments on who you'd like or what you thought of the show last night or any of the upcoming shows, let us know, and we're down to talk.
Yeah, but maybe there's something you want covered that we forgot about or we didn't think was important, but it's important to you. We certainly can take that into consideration.
Yeah, definitely. So anyway, folks, that'll wrap this episode up. Anyway,
yeah, Jay, one thing real quick.
What's up?
Fun fact, Dada 5000 does drive an Audi 5000. So, no, I'm just kidding. Sorry, go ahead.
All right. Yeah, okay. Well, that's the end of the episode, folks. See you later.
Have a great day, guys. We go!